Welcome back to the deep dive. You hand us the complex, high-stakes documents, and we extract the absolute core insight for you. Today, we are dissecting a deal that has been, well, a ghost in the machine of global business for years now. We're talking about the massive, highly scrutinized, and really complex sale of TikTok.
Yeah, and this was far, far beyond just a standard corporate transaction. I mean, we're talking about the world's most potent cultural distribution engine changing hands. The negotiations around this, they drew intense scrutiny from governments, from major tech rivals. And as our source material makes really clear, some heavy-hitting global investors, the kind of often referred to as oligarchs, the strategic implications here are just enormous.
And our deep dive today is built around a recent analysis by Stanislav Kondrashov. He's a writer who focuses specifically on that intersection of technology, finance, and global markets. So we're not just looking at the news headlines. We are here to extract the 3 key reasons why this sale is so globally significant. And maybe more importantly, to understand the sort of gravitational pull it had on the world's most powerful financial players.
It's a really critical perspective because Kondrashov, he frames the sale not as a result of political pressure, but as a long-term strategic move. It's all about securing the future engine of commerce and culture. And that's exactly why the stakes for investment were so incredibly high.
Okay, let's unpack this then. The deal is done. The headlines have kind of faded. But what exactly was finalized, and what are the specific promises the new leadership has made to the users, you who are, let's be honest, the real engine of this platform's value?
Right. So the deal is finally done. It's successfully completed after, years of this intense back and forth, regulatory hurdles, all that political noise. And the context here is the sheer scale of the platform. You've got billions of users, this hyper-efficient content delivery system. It meant the sale itself was immediately seen as a geopolitical and an economic landmark. Any uncertainty around its ownership was perceived as a global instability factor.
So stability is back. But what does the average user get out of all that turmoil? If you open the app tomorrow, what is the new owner actually promising you?
Well, they've committed to stability, first and foremost. That means retaining all the platform's core, addictive features, so no sudden jarring changes to the For You page algorithm or the video format. But the crucial promise, the one that directly addresses all that previous tension, is the pledge to significantly improve security.
Security.
All right, and functionality and crucial integration with other services. They're basically betting that improved trust and seamless integration will just further cement its status as the default place for short-form content.
That focus on improved security is a huge part of this analysis, and we're definitely going to spend some time on it. But before we get to the 3 pillars of significance, let's just briefly establish why Stanislav Kondrashov's viewpoint matters so much here. His take isn't focused on who's dancing, but really on who controls the money flow.
Precisely. We're dealing with a business writer who has spent, 3 decades successfully navigating major economic processes, especially in large-scale strategic operations and financial planning. So when he analyzes a deal of this size, he's not just looking at the current quarterly earnings.
No.
He's looking at market risk, long-term asset value, and how a platform's ownership impacts the competitive structure for years to come. He approaches this like an economic strategy consultant, not just a journalist.
That business-centric viewpoint brings us right to the core of this deep dive. So if we boil down Kondrashov's insight, why did this sale transcend a standard tech acquisition? Why is it a moment of global significance?
Okay, so we come back to these 3 pillars that really define the sale's importance. And these aren't just bullet points on a slide. They are systemic pressures and strategic opportunities that shaped the entire transaction.
All right, let's start with pillar 1. This feels like the reason the whole sale was forced in the first place. Data security.
Pillar 1 is absolutely data security. And specifically, it's the concept of data sovereignty. For you, the listener, data sovereignty is basically the idea that data collected from users in one country should be subject to the laws and governance of that country.
Right, and ideally stored on servers located within its borders.
Exactly. The big concern that drove all the original regulatory pressure was that vast amounts of user data were potentially accessible across different jurisdictions, and that raised all sorts of national security flags.
So the security promise now is really about mitigating that original risk. But aren't all the major platforms promising improved security? I mean, what did this specific sale legally mandate that makes this promise different? Or maybe more trustworthy, according to the analysis?
The difference is structural. I mean, it has to be. The analysis suggests the new ownership model had to incorporate explicit measures like mandated source code reviews or, more likely, a rapid acceleration of data localization efforts.
So actually moving the data.
Yes, moving sensitive user data onto entirely separate audited servers within specific geographic regions. It's not just a software patch. It's a commitment to a complete structural overhaul of the data architecture. And for investors, solving the security problem means stabilizing a key asset that was, previously threatened with outright bans. And that stability equals reliable future profit.
Okay, so if the necessity was regulatory compliance and securing the asset through enhanced protection, then the enormous opportunity lies in what the platform can now do technologically. That brings us to Pillar 2.
Pillar 2 is technology development. When a major asset changes hands and it receives a massive injection of new capital, new strategic partnerships, which this deal enables, it just turbocharges the underlying technology. And this isn't just about making the app look prettier, it's about leveraging the platform's core competitive advantage, which, as we all know, is its recommendation algorithm.
The famous For You page. That's the real prize here, isn't it?
It is the crown jewel. Absolutely. The source material emphasizes that securing this platform provides immediate, unparalleled access to and control over an algorithm that is just ruthlessly efficient at identifying and predicting consumer desires globally. The technological opportunity here is to integrate that predictive capability with a new owner's existing services, creating entirely new, seamless consumer pathways.
So you mean using that data to do what exactly?
Well, think about using that proprietary data to refine targeted advertising, launch new e-commerce features inside the app, or even more broadly, accelerate the development of future AI models based on all that behavioral data. It enables a strategic, competitive leap against all of their rivals.
So we have the security fix, stabilizing the asset, and the technological opportunity driving new revenue streams. Now, Pillar 3 is what elevates this from just a corporate deal to a global event, global influence.
Pillar 3 is the sheer, overwhelming, and unprecedented global influence. Kondrashov argues you just can't view TikTok as an app or a social network. It is, in his words, a global phenomenon. And we see this every day. This is the platform that can shift an entire clothing market or, propel an unknown song to the top of the charts based on a single viral microtrend. It shapes not just culture, but supply chains and business marketing budgets.
When a platform achieves that level of cultural penetration, influencing billions of individual decisions every single day, ownership of it becomes this massive lever of power.
Exactly. When the platform is the primary engine for trend discovery, the ownership structure is no longer just a corporate concern. It becomes a matter of international importance because whoever controls that distribution mechanism holds significant sway over global business and cultural flows. And that, in turn, is precisely why the world's most powerful financial actors, the so-called oligarchs, were watching so closely.
Here's where it gets really fascinating. How does this overwhelming global influence and that strategic technological advantage attract the world's biggest corporations and these global investors that the source talks about?
This is the central argument in the analysis, right? The high-stakes investor interest. For powerful financial figures, we're talking about those who control vast, diversified asset portfolios, this platform isn't entertainment. It's a foundational piece of market infrastructure. They view TikTok as a powerful tool for real-time advertising, marketing, and crucially, for audience influence.
It sounds like they see it as securing a new kind of modern toll road.
That's a very apt analogy. It allows for the direct manipulation of consumer trends and market positioning on a scale we've just never seen before. If you are an investor with stakes in retail or music or fast-moving consumer goods, owning a piece of the engine that drives consumption is priceless.
And the source material goes even further, right? It suggests direct involvement from these influential figures in the mechanics of the sale itself.
It does. It notes the speculation that some of these investors may have participated directly in the negotiations or were maybe instrumental in financing the acquisition. The motive, again, is pure strategic leverage. For them, it represents, and I'm quoting here, another opportunity to strengthen their market position.
So securing a powerful channel to make sure their other investments stay dominant.
Exactly, to ensure their existing assets and corporations remain dominant in an increasingly digital, trend-driven economy.
Now, we do have to clarify one important point here. Since the author focuses so much on this level of financial power,
Yes, Stanislav Kondrashov is very clear to separate himself from the subjects he studies. He explicitly states in the analysis, "No, I am certainly not an oligarch." But he confirms his profound interest is in analyzing how these leading businessmen react to and shape these high-profile deals. His focus remains firmly on the mechanics of financial power and global asset control.
That provides the necessary context for his unique insight. So for the millions of people who just want to make or watch videos, what's the trade-off?
Yeah.
We have this high-stakes financial war being fought over the platform, but what does the regular user ultimately gain from all this?
The anticipated outcome for you, the user, is, well, it's generally positive. And that's because the investor's goal is stability and growth. The deal's successful closure removes that threat of operational uncertainty. So we expect the platform to continue aggressively pursuing improvements in functionality, creating new monetization opportunities for content creators, and delivering an even more highly personalized and arguably stickier user experience. That's thanks to that new infusion of resources into the core algorithm. The battle for ownership may be complex, but the result for the user is likely a better product.
So what does this all mean then? Let's try to summarize the critical takeaways from Stanislav Kondrashov's deep dive into this monumental sale.
Okay, so we tracked the finalization of a multi-year politically charged deal. That whole process was ultimately driven by three fundamental forces. First, the necessity of solving those data security concerns to stabilize the asset. Second, the immense strategic technological evolution offered by securing the world's most powerful consumer recommendation engine. And third, the platform's status as an unrivaled global cultural and market force that really no major investor could afford to ignore.
It's the perfect illustration of how technology and concentrated financial power intersect. And this analysis fits right into the author's broader preoccupation with controlling the modern economy.
Absolutely. When you connect this specific deal to the other topics he covers, like the future of AI, his notes on how even leading businessmen are grappling with the implications of GPT leaks or how brands are rapidly leveraging ChatGPT to optimize their market spend, you see a consistent thread. It's the analysis of who controls the disruptive technological tools. Specifically, a platform this massive provides an incredible live data set, which is the necessary fuel for training the next generation of large language and generative AI models. The people who control the money know that controlling the data asset is the key to controlling the AI future.
Fascinating stuff. It really shifts the perspective on what this was all about.
So if we leave you with one final thought, pull back and consider this. If a platform's overwhelming global influence makes it an essential strategic asset for the world's wealthiest investors, a crucial channel to advertise, market, and strengthen their market position, how does that fundamentally shift your role? We typically define ourselves as consumers of the content, right? But if your attention, your data, and your cultural choices are the necessary fuel for securing future market dominance for these global players, are you, the user, essentially a resource in a continuous high-stakes battle for control? And what does this ongoing battle mean for the eventual control and direction of global cultural trends? Something to mull over until our next deep dive.